My career, it has happened many, many times since when someone would intimidate me or scare me and take something that I believe was mine. Get between somebody and their paper. Taking a man's livelihood away from him is akin to killing him.
You're not going to believe what just happened. Dave Chappelle, yes, the Chappelle, just clowned Shannon Sharpe in front of a live audience like it was open mic night. And the punchline? It had everything to do with that $50 million lawsuit and a little something people are whispering about behind the scenes, that ESPN might actually be bankrolling the whole thing. Like this isn't just some petty joke. This might be the moment the internet turns on Shannon for good. And if what people are saying is true about ESPN playing fixer behind the scenes, oh, we've got ourselves a real media cover-up brewing.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm going to choke out of you when I see you.
But here's the wild part. The more you look at it, the more it starts to make sense. The silence, the timing, the way Shannon's been moving lately. It's all starting to click. And we're pulling it all apart right here. Trust me. Once you hear what Chappelle actually said and who's really benefiting from this lawsuit madness, you're not going to see ESPN or Shannon the same way again. All right, so let's rewind for a second, because before Dave Chappelle ever picked up that mic, Shannon Sharpe was already neck-deep in controversy. It all started with what looked like some typical internet drama, a few shady posts, a couple of cryptic tweets, and then boom.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Buzz.
Gabriella Zuniga drops a $50 million lawsuit on Shannon's head. And this wasn't your run-of-the-mill breakup drama either. She came in swinging, accusing him of emotional manipulation, harassment, and deliberately sabotaging her career. According to her, Shannon didn't just ghost her or hurt her feelings. She claims he weaponized his platform, turned industry insiders against her, and even used private texts and voice messages to smear her name behind closed doors. And those leaked messages that surfaced right after? Yeah, they made everything 10 times worse.
Most would have to run the streets for years to learn a lesson that profound. It took me 2 seconds. Never get between somebody and their paper.
One clip that made the rounds had Gabriella allegedly saying, he pretends to empower women, but behind the scenes, it's control, it's intimidation, and if you cross him, he'll make sure you're blacklisted. Whether you believe her or not, it lit up the internet like wildfire. At first, a lot of people thought this was going to blow over. Like, okay, a messy breakup, maybe a little clout chasing, move on, right? But nope. The lawsuit was real. The allegations kept piling up.
It turned criminal really fast. They're just using a civil suit to knock down a lot of your money. I'm seeing this happen with a lot of rappers, a lot of athletes, and people are not paying attention to that.
And then legal documents started floating around that hinted this wasn't just about personal drama. It was about reputation, money, and power. And Shannon? He didn't exactly deny everything. Instead, he went silent. No major statements, no podcast rants, just business as usual, like none of it existed, which only made people dig deeper. Suddenly, the headlines weren't just about Gabriella. They were about Shannon's past, his connections, his rumored flings. Even some of his Club Shay Shay episodes started resurfacing.
Oh, this is what I'm getting at. And for him to offer $10 million says that there might be some truth to this, because I'm not offering nobody no $10 million if I know I didn't do anything. And I think the only reason the $10 million didn't work, Killer, I want to know how you feel about this. I think the $10 million didn't work because the pimp need his cut. You know, just...
With fans pointing out red flag moments they had missed the first time. So now you've got this massive legal fight, public opinion swinging back and forth, and one of the biggest personalities in sports media right at the center of it. That's where we were, until Chappelle decided to drop his own 2 cents into the chaos. And that's when things really got out of control. Now here's where things take a sharp left. And no, we're not talking about Shannon's podcast. Because while the lawsuit itself was already messy, things got really suspicious once whispers started floating around that ESPN might be quietly footing the bill for Shannon's legal team.
Right there. For real? Yeah, that worth a lot of money. You know how guys be, and they pushed her on her. And then she said 10. He was like, 10 is my 10. You gotta put in your number for yourself. That don't have nothing to do with mine. 10 is mine. That's what we discussed. I'm just telling you.
Yep, you heard that right. Word on the street is, Shannon isn't facing this $50 million lawsuit alone. He's allegedly got the backing of one of the most powerful sports media giants behind him. And if that's true, this isn't just about protecting a brand, this is about shielding an investment. Let's break it down. Shannon Sharpe isn't just a retired Hall of Famer with a mic. He's become one of the faces of ESPN's new era. After leaving Undisputed and joining Stephen A. Smith on First Take, the network has been pushing him hard. Prime slots, viral content, partnerships, you name it.
We pray all of this is like a fallacy or some kind of hoax or something like this, because he was about to get a bunch of money. And you know, when you're about to get a bunch of money, people that hate on you just wait until you're about to get that money and rain on your parade. But we can't say that. And that's why I wanted to say it, to get Stats' opinion. I knew when I said that she was gonna go, yeah. No, you can't be on your way to 100 million.
So when this lawsuit hit the fan, some insiders claim ESPN didn't just sit back and wait. Allegedly, they stepped in. Not publicly, of course, but behind the scenes. Quiet legal aid, private consultations, PR damage control. Basically anything to make sure their golden goose didn't crack under pressure. And to be clear, there's no official statement, no receipts, but the signs, they're there.
That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media.
One media source said, there are a lot of moving parts being handled privately to protect the integrity of ESPN's top talent. Another insider hinted that the network is fully aware of the situation and has taken internal steps to manage it. People started noticing too, especially when Shannon kept showing up to First Take like nothing happened. No suspension, no press statement, no distancing, just clean cuts, fresh suits, and smiles with Stephen A. every morning. Compare that to how ESPN handled other controversies. Jameel Hill got suspended for tweets. Rachel Nichols got pulled over a private recording. But Shannon, facing a massive public lawsuit, not even a flicker of concern.
Sharpe tried to make the whole thing go away with $10 million, but y'all, it didn't work. His legal team just confirmed that he offered his accuser at least $10 million during private mediation talks before she hit him with that $50 million sexual loss.
And that's what's got fans talking. Because if ESPN is helping him out behind closed doors, it opens a whole new can of worms. Favoritism, power politics, and whether the same rules apply to everyone, or just the ones who bring in the big bucks. And just when the heat was starting to build, Dave Chappelle walked on stage and poured gasoline on the fire. So picture this. It's a packed comedy club in Los Angeles. Crowd buzzing, phones locked up, and Dave Chappelle walks out on stage like he always does. Cool, calm, unpredictable. And then, out of nowhere, he hits the audience with this. Shannon Sharpe suing folks like he's trying to retire again. Only this time, ESPN's his sugar daddy. The room exploded. Laughter, gasps, even a few awkward chuckles from the ESPN staffers probably sitting in the back. It was raw, it was brutal, and it was classic Chappelle, cutting straight through the noise with that surgical, no-holds-barred humor. And in that moment, Shannon Sharpe went from being part of a lawsuit to being the punchline of one of the most influential comedians alive.
It was completely outside of my frame of reference. I've been in show business since I was 14, and I've heard the stories of what happens, and I've seen these kinds of things play out in front of me.
Okay.
When
you say you heard the stories, what do you mean? What stories?
I mean, you see it before. Look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to kill me."
Yeah, we hear those stories.
And it always happens around the time of their career where it seems as though they're crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
No.
Not exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy, but it's incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
And I feel like in a lot of instances, I was deliberately being put through stress.
Now let's be real. Chappelle didn't spend his whole set roasting Shannon, but that one line was enough. It immediately started circulating on X, formerly Twitter, with captions like, "Nah, Chappelle is wild for this," and "Even Dave knows ESPN is covering for Shannon." Clips of the moment started popping up despite the no phone policy. A couple leaked snippets hit TikTok and hit hard. One video, with over 2.4 million views in under 12 hours, was just a fan reacting mid-set like, "Did he just say what I think he said about Shannon Sharpe?" And the timing couldn't have been worse for Shannon. The lawsuit chatter was already simmering online. People were already side-eyeing ESPN. And now, one of the most culturally bulletproof voices out there just publicly roasted the entire situation. It's the kind of hit that doesn't go away. Not just because it's funny, but because it crystallizes everything people were already thinking. Chappelle didn't just make a joke. He confirmed the vibe. And once that happens, good luck controlling the narrative.
That was fast, is what I would say. Very, very fast, Mr. Shannon Sharpe. He is officially out at ESPN. We said yesterday that this was likely to happen because with these sorts of contracts, millions and millions of dollars, they can and usually do include a morality clause, meaning don't be caught at a strip club smacking booty cheeks that are $25,000 per cheek.
And that's when the internet did what it always does next, turn that one-liner into a meme storm. The second that Chappelle line hit the internet, it was game over. Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, you name it. The roast went nuclear. And the memes? Oh, they didn't just drag Shannon, they buried him. One tweet racked up over 50,000 likes in a day. Shannon Sharpe walking into court with ESPN's lawyers like it's the NBA Finals, complete with a photoshopped image of Shannon in a Lakers jersey holding a briefcase like a championship trophy. Another one? Dave Chappelle said what we were all thinking. Shannon ain't suing for justice. He's suing with a corporate Amex. TikTok had its own moment too. People were lip-syncing to Chappelle's line, cutting it with clips of Shannon yelling, "Skip!" from Undisputed like he was calling for help. One creator even stitched together old Club Shay Shay interviews and edited Gabriella into the background with court papers. Petty? Yes. But viral? Absolutely. And here's the wild part. This wasn't just people laughing at Shannon. This was fans turning on him. People who used to ride for him were now posting things like, "I used to respect Shannon Sharpe, but if Chappelle's making jokes, it must be bad." That's the power of comedy and cancel culture. A trending joke can hit harder than a news article. And when someone like Dave Chappelle sets the tone, the internet follows. Fast. Even Reddit threads started connecting dots, pulling quotes from Shannon's old interviews, pointing out inconsistencies in his story, and questioning why ESPN hasn't distanced themselves yet.
I do not think that the rape element is true. I do think that he has been behaving sloppily, and so that has caught up with him, and I understand ESPN's decision here. But the accidental hilarity that happened in this situation is that it's the manner in which Shannon chose to make the announcement regarding CNN. So he took a screenshot of a text message, which clearly had to have been written by someone else, maybe his lawyer or his PR team. It wasn't written by him, and then he shared it onto X, so people were laughing at him going, "You're not supposed to share, you're supposed to make it sound like it actually was written by you."
One thread even asked, "Why does this feel like the Deshaun Watson situation, but with suits and PR?" Suddenly, Shannon wasn't just the victim or the defendant. He was the villain, the punchline, and the protected star all in one. And the court of public opinion wasn't feeling generous. And just like that, the pressure was back on Shannon. But how did he respond to all this? That's where it gets even more telling. So, after getting roasted by Dave Chappelle and lit up across every corner of the internet, you'd think Shannon Sharpe would clap back, right? Drop a tweet, throw some shade on Club Shay Shay, maybe even laugh it off like, "Y'all crazy." But nope, nothing. Radio silence, not a single comment. No denial, no slick Instagram story, just silence. And coming from someone like Shannon, who built a brand on never letting stuff slide, that silence is loud. This is the same guy who fired back at KD, clapped back at Skip, and threw jabs at half the NFL on live TV. But now, when Chappelle throws a haymaker and the whole internet's watching, Shannon's just sipping his smoothie on air like nothing's happening. And that's what's making people even more suspicious. Because silence, it can mean a few things. He's lawyering up and doesn't want to say anything that could be used in court. He's being told to stay quiet, probably by ESPN or his legal team. Or he knows the backlash is bad, and there's no clean way out of it. Even the vibe on First Take felt different this week. Stephen A. seemed more protective than usual. The jokes were softer, the banter toned down. Like everyone in the room knew there was an elephant in the studio, and they were just praying the cameras didn't catch it. Fans picked up on it too. Comment sections filled with, "Why's Shannon acting like he didn't just get ethered by Chappelle last night? Bro, blink twice if ESPN told you to shut up." And honestly, the longer he stays quiet, the more people start writing the story for him. That's the risk. Silence leaves a vacuum, and the internet loves to fill it. So now we've got a man being sued for $50 million, accused of harassment, clowned by one of the biggest comedians alive, and trending for all the wrong reasons.
Deadline heard from an ESPN spokesperson. They said, quote, "This is a serious situation and we agree with Shannon's decision to step away." So it appears the truth is that Shannon Sharpe essentially quit before he was fired. He wanted to avoid people kind of laughing at him or saying he was fired. Again, I don't wish him bad. I hope that he finds happiness. I don't particularly take him to be a happy or a well-rounded person. And I think his behavior illustrates that.
And he's saying nothing. But while Shannon stays quiet, the heat's shifting. Because now folks aren't just questioning him, they're turning their eyes straight to ESPN. And that's where things could really start to blow up. All right, so here's where things really start to crack open. Because while Shannon Sharpe is taking all the heat publicly, the real question behind the scenes is, what is ESPN doing? Or better yet, what are they hiding? See, the more this lawsuit spirals and the more Chappelle's joke gets reposted like gospel, the harder it is for ESPN to pretend like none of this is happening. And yet, that's exactly what they're doing. No public statement, no internal suspension, no distancing themselves from Shannon whatsoever. And that's got people asking, why the double standard? Let's not forget, ESPN dropped Jamali Hill over a few political tweets. They cut Rachel Nichols over a leaked private conversation. Both were swiftly handled, publicly condemned, and removed. But Shannon? He's out here facing a $50 million harassment lawsuit, getting flamed by Dave Chappelle, and walking into First Take with a fresh lineup like it's just another Monday. Make it make sense. And now, the rumors about ESPN helping cover Shannon's legal fees are starting to feel a little too real, especially when you factor in how valuable he is to the brand right now. He brings ratings. He trends weekly. He's made Stephen A. even more relevant. And that print money combo, ESPN doesn't want to mess that up. So instead of accountability, people are seeing protection. One sports journalist tweeted, "ESPN's silence on the Shannon lawsuit speaks volumes. Talent protection always wins over principles in this industry." Reddit threads are now digging into ESPN's legal history, exposing how they've selectively punished talent depending on who's expendable. One comment summed it up perfectly. If this was a lower-tier analyst, they'd be gone already. But Shannon's too big to fail, so now they're treating him like a quarterback with a clean record. And here's where it gets risky for ESPN. Because if fans start viewing them as complicit, as enablers, that brand trust they've built up over decades, it could crumble fast. All it takes is one leaked email, one internal whistleblower, or one bad look. And suddenly, this isn't just a Shannon Sharpe issue. It's a corporate cover-up story. So while Shannon's name is trending for all the wrong reasons, don't be fooled. The real damage might be coming for the network backing him. And with everything on the line, you've got to ask, how much worse could this get? So now we're in that danger zone. The part where things look calm on the surface, but underneath, it's chaos just waiting to explode. Because if you think Dave Chappelle dropping one joke is the end of this story, oh, you're in for a ride. Let's start with the obvious. What if more comes out? Gabriela Zuniga hasn't even gone full throttle yet. No interviews, no public statements, just a lawsuit and some court documents. But if she decides to speak up, or worse, if she's got receipts that haven't dropped yet, yeah, we're talking text messages, audio clips, screenshots, even NDAs, anything that could shift public opinion in an instant. Remember how quickly things flipped in the Johnny Depp-Amber Heard trial once footage came out? It only takes one leak. Now imagine this. Dave Chappelle doubles down. What if that one joke becomes a full-blown Netflix special segment? He's known for building entire bits around social commentary. And if he decides Shannon's drama is ripe for comedy, that could cement the narrative forever. Not just as gossip, but as culture-shaping satire. And then there's the ESPN fallout. Let's say someone from inside the network leaks details confirming they're helping pay for Shannon's legal defense. Or maybe an email surfaces showing executives discussing how to protect him. Suddenly, this turns into a PR disaster. Headlines like, ESPN accused of funding legal defense in $50 million harassment case. Insiders blow whistle on ESPN's Shannon Sharpe cover-up. That's not a sports story anymore, that's national news. That's congressional hearing energy. And let's not forget sponsors. If this drags out and brands start getting nervous, Shannon could see endorsement deals disappear quietly, one by one. Maybe a commercial spot gets pulled. Maybe a podcast collab gets postponed. That's how these things unravel. Not with fireworks, but with silence and distance. The wild card? Stephen A. Smith. He hasn't said much, yet. But we all know Stephen A. doesn't like being caught in anyone else's mess. If he senses this is hurting his brand, best believe he'll speak out, and he will not hold back. He's a loyal guy, but he's a businessman first. So now we're sitting on a powder keg. The lawsuit's still active. The memes are still flying. Chappelle cracked the door wide open. And now everyone's watching what happens next. Because this isn't just about Shannon Sharpe anymore. It's about celebrity, protection, and who really gets held accountable when the cameras stop rolling. So there you have it. What started as a quiet little lawsuit has now spiraled into a full-on media circus. Shannon Sharpe's facing a $50 million bombshell, Dave Chappelle turned him into a viral punchline, and now ESPN's sitting in the hot seat with the world watching and waiting for a slip-up. And the craziest part? We're probably just getting started. Because whether or not Gabriella drops more dirt, whether or not ESPN's legal involvement gets exposed, or whether Dave Chappelle decides to roast Shannon again in his next set, this story has officially crossed over into cultural wildfire territory. The memes aren't slowing down, the rumors are getting louder, and the silence from the people at the center of it all, that's only making things worse. But what do you think? Is Shannon being protected by ESPN? Or is the internet overreacting to something way more complicated? And was Chappelle out of line for clowning him in public? Or just saying what everybody else was already thinking? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'll be reading them. Hit that like button if this breakdown opened your eyes. And make sure you're subscribed with notifications on because the next twist in this saga, it could hit any day now. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. Until then, keep your receipts close and your popcorn closer.